When I was in the video game industry, I cut my teeth on NASCAR. I started on NASCAR games. I worked on NASCAR games. I shipped 4 games in my time when I was at EA. And I love racing games. I've always loved racing games. What's going on, everybody? I'm Jay. Welcome to Square Pegs. But that doesn't mean you love racing games. And in fact, a lot of people don't. So one of the things I like to challenge myself with in videos is to find examples of a particular genre that I think, even if you hate that genre, you can enjoy. So today I'm giving you 10 racing games for people who hate racing games. And we're starting on the Sega 32X. That's right, kicking things off with Virtua Fighter Deluxe, not Virtua Fighter. That's right, kicking things off with Virtua Racing Deluxe. I'm a big fan of the 32X. I'm a big fan of Virtua Racing. Loved Virtua Racing on the Genesis, and I really, really love it on the 32X. This is one of the best versions of the title out there. I still think that the best version of Virtua Racing you can get is the one that actually released on the Nintendo Switch, the Sega Ages version. I think that's fantastic, but the one on the 32X is fantastic. It's an absolutely wonderful game. Really, really strong graphics for the time. It's a really fun concept. You can race in a Formula One car, a stock car, or a prototype car. There's 5 or 6 courses, I think. It's got multiplayer action. It's a really, really excellent title, and one that I return to pretty frequently. I was very lucky. I had a patron send me a 32X a few years ago. My friend John sent it to me. And it was something that I didn't own a 32X growing up, so it was completely new to me, and he provided me with Virtua Racing Deluxe as well. And I'm going to be honest, it's probably my favorite game that I've played on the 32X. I think it's a super fantastic title. Up next, we're going to jump over to the Nintendo Switch, and this is one that I've suggested before. This was in a Game of the Year countdown, and it's something where I think if you're looking at racing games, you can go in 2 different ways. You can either, or I guess 3 different ways. You can, maybe 4 or 5 different ways. These are how these videos go, folks. But when I think of racing video games, the ones that really come to mind to me are really super serious sim racing games, kind of like Gran Turismo, the NASCAR titles that are out now, the F1 games that are out now, or more loose interpretations of racing, ones that are a little more arcadey. And arcade racing games are phenomenal and some of my favorites out there. And one of my favorites on the Nintendo Switch is Cruis'n Blast. It is one of my favorite arcade ports on the system, one of my favorite games, period, on the system. It's something that not only is just fun and easy to drop into, like if you've ever played a cruising game before, you're gonna love this one, but it's easy to drop into, it's easy to pick up and play, it's easy to understand, and it's super easy to enjoy because it's not terribly serious. Like, it doesn't take itself seriously at all. And there's all kinds of crazy crap going on in the games as you're playing and as you're driving that just really keep you kind of enraptured and just engrossed in what's going on. Not only are there a ton of different unlockable vehicles, there's so many courses with just insane stuff happening that it's kind of a feast for the eyes, and it's a really, really fun title. It's my kind of game. It's something that you can play for 5 minutes or you can play for 5 hours, and you're not going to regret either interaction. If you guys have been on the channel for a while, you know I love licensed games. If you haven't seen any of my licensed game videos, check out the playlist on the screen right now. And this is one that I really enjoy. This is Looney Tunes Space Race. This is a classic kart game. This is another one of those kind of racing genres that you can really fall into. That's cartoony, but it's combat-based, right? Like, you have power-ups and weapons and stuff like that you can use. And this one's cool because it features the Looney Tunes characters. So you can fly as Daffy, you can fly as Marvin, you can fly as Bugs. You know, it's stuff like that where it's all these characters that you're familiar with and that you enjoy in a really good setting. And I think the Dreamcast is kind of an overlooked system for fun racing titles. There's some really, really great ones on there. I also love the Wacky Races game on the Dreamcast as well that I've talked about on the channel in the past. And I've talked about this one a couple of times, but in particular, I really think this one is strong just based on the character selection, the power-ups that are just kind of like naturally lent to the Looney Tunes universe from the Acme catalog. It's a really fantastic interpretation of what the Looney Tunes could be in a racing title. And the level designs are really good too. Next up, onto the Super Nintendo, and pretty much every port of this game on a home console is great. The arcade version is the absolute best, but we cannot talk about racing games that I think everyone will enjoy if they play it, and not mention my favorite arcade game of all time, Super Off-Road. I love this game. I discovered this when it was at the Walmart in Cape Coral, Florida, out in the lobby. Remember when Walmart used to have arcade games outside? Wasn't that amazing? And this is one that I was just fascinated with. I had never really seen Baja Racing before. It wasn't something that I was familiar with. So to be able to have this 4-player action where you were driving these trucks on these amazing little tracks, and the entire thing was top down, right? It was kind of almost isometric, almost top down, but kind of halfway between, I guess. And it was something where having that free spinning wheel, so you could just whip that wheel to cut a corner real fast, and the different nitrous and like the power-ups you could find for your car to make your car perform better, it felt like the next level of RC Pro-Am that I was familiar with on the NES. And every game that I have played, like I said, every port of this that I have played, I've enjoyed. Even the Game Boy one, which is not as great as the other ones, obviously. The NES port in particular is fantastic. The Super Nintendo version here is great. It's a really fun game, and it's something that's wonderful for a multiplayer experience, or it's great single player. It's one of those really awesome racing experiences that just delivers on all levels. Next up, this is one that I discovered when I worked at EA. We used to have a library where we were able to check out games and movies, which was awesome. And this is one I discovered on the original Xbox. It's one I had a lot of fun playing with my friend Corey, and it's Rally Sport Challenge 2. Both of the Rally Sport Challenge games on the original Xbox are wonderful. This one is particularly excellent. So rally racing is something where it's a little bit different than traditional racing, and this one is a little more sim-based than arcade action, but it's still really fun, and it's something that's so over the top and so crazy that you can't help but enjoy it, and it's a perfect experience for a video game. The Colin McRae games are also like that. But rally racing is one where it's a race against time. It's not just against an opponent, where you are trying to complete the course in the best time available. And the really cool thing about it is that there are spotters calling out what turns are coming up and what kind of things you're going to encounter as you're driving. So you're going to hear your spotter telling you 90-degree right, hard right, slight left, things like that. You know, and it's a really cool experience to kind of not only have a mini map on screen, but also be able to kind of like target what's going to be coming at you and what's going to be happening. And I loved those games when they released. I was really sad when that franchise died. But the Colin McRae series is still really fun. The Dirt series, if you haven't played those are excellent as well. I think that's under the EA banner now, that EA and Codemasters is the same thing. But really excellent titles, and rally racing is just made for video game action. Over to the Nintendo 64, which was no stranger to amazing racing games, and no stranger to less than amazing racing games. And I'm sure a lot of you are thinking, he's going to tell us about Beetle Adventure Racing because he doesn't shut up about that game. And I would tell you about that if Star Wars Episode 1 Racer didn't exist, because I love Star Wars and I love this title. There are better versions of it. I will tell you that. The Dreamcast version in particular is excellent. The Switch ports, the ones that are on modern consoles, are also fantastic, but this is the one I own physically, so I wanted to be able to show it to you here. And the one on the 64 was my first experience with a Star Wars racing game, and what a great concept, because this is something that was introduced in Episode 1. This was a great way to kind of break up the beginning of the movie to go into the second half of the film, and it makes for a perfect video game. The course designs are great. The character selection is wonderful. Sure, you can drive as Anakin, but you can also drive as Sebulba, or you can drive as other characters I can't think of off the top of my head. It's something where the gameplay is excellent. The kind of different pods that you're able to choose and the racers that you're able to use is really fun, and it's just a great experience overall. It's one of those games that is kind of the signature experience on the 64 for me, where I think about this one pretty much top of mind when I think of the N64, because it was one of those games that was just always ever present whenever I would play it over at my friend Chris's house. This is just one of those titles that we always threw in and always enjoyed. Xbox 360 now, and this is one that I have to thank Metal Jesus for. Jason introduced me to this one on one of his Hidden Gem videos, and it is Need for Speed: The Run. Now, this is one I've talked about pretty much at least once or twice a year for the last few years, and this is a great game. If you're not familiar with it, it is a classic Need for Speed game, but it's told in a very, very different way. It's almost the Cannonball Run. Now, if you're not familiar with the Cannonball Run is a coast-to-coast race from New York City to California, or reverse that, I'm not sure which. And it is something that it's, you know, you'll see like the Bull Run and things like that are kind of like spins off of what it is. And they're just these just flat out crazy races from coast to coast. And it's incredible to see. It's also unbelievably illegal, but it's one of those things that is just really exciting. And, you know, the Cannonball Run was made into a movie starring Burt Reynolds. It's one of the greatest movies of all time. Fantastic comedy, wonderful action movie as well. The racing action in it is great. And it's one of those things that when they adapted Need for Speed to kind of be a nod to Cannonball Run and something that kind of adapted that, I was sold. I was really excited when I saw Jason introduce me to it. Now, I will tell you, if you have this on the Xbox 360, and I would assume on the PlayStation 3 as well, I don't have it on the PS3, but For it to work on the 360, you need to turn off your internet connection because it will try to ping the EA servers from the start. Unfortunately, you can't bypass that if your internet connection is on. If it's off, it'll just say, hey, you're not connected, we're gonna go into game. It's a wonderful title, it's a lot of fun, and some of the best racing action I've played on the 360. Over to the Wii now, and this is one that not only is a fun game, not only is a great racing game, it's a fun arcade racing game, and it's one that is a really interesting spin on the Excite franchise from Nintendo. This is Excitebots Trick Racing, and one of the things I really like about this, so the cars are all kind of animal-based. They're almost like Transformers, so almost like Beast Wars Transformers, if that makes any sense. You have like there's one that looks like a gecko or a chameleon, and it's a really clever experience because as you're driving, the things that you do in the race are going to manipulate what the track does. So there will be like hills that all of a sudden spring out from the ground or just collapse, and then you find power-ups that are going to make you boost and things like that. And there are different things in the track that you're able to kind of cling onto, and you use the motion controls at that point to swing your character around and around to get a huge boost. And it's a blast, man. Like, I really did not think that the motion controls were going to be enjoyable in a racing game, but in a situation like this where it's logically implemented and it's fun, it just works so well. It's a really, really excellent title. Excite Truck is also good, but I think Excitebox is better overall, but you can't go wrong with either of them on the Wii. Another one that's an interesting take on a racing game. This one is probably more of a driving game, but I think it is a racing game because it is a race against time, and it's a race against insanity as well, if that makes any sense. This is Crazy Taxi on the Dreamcast. Now, I say it's a race against insanity because you get rewarded for driving like an idiot. But you have to drive like a safe idiot, because if you're crashing into things, you're not going to get as much of a bonus and it's going to slow you down. But if you like launch off of things and go over different vehicles or cut corners really fast, your fare is going to really enjoy it and you're going to get more money. And as you deliver them faster to their location, you get more time to continue trying to collect fares. Crazy Taxi to me is one of those signature Dreamcast experiences. Like I said with Looney Tunes Space Race, this is one of those games that when I think of the Dreamcast, this is something that I kind of immediately go to. It's a really solid title. The sequel is also great, but I think I prefer the first one. I mean, the soundtrack is amazing, right? The Offspring in it is wonderful, but it's just one of those really perfect experiences. There's been a ton of ports of it as well, so if you don't have it on the Dreamcast, you can play it elsewhere, but it's just a really, really magical game. Last but not least, and this one is like 3/4 a racing game. There's also some other elements to it as well, and it doesn't involve vehicles so much as it does modes of transportation, I guess, if that makes sense. And it is SSX Tricky. Now, this is legitimately probably my favorite EA Sports big game that isn't NBA Street Volume 2. It is one of those games that I look at as just kind of a perfect experience from top to bottom. I love the characters. I love the layout of the mountain and the designs there. I love the challenge of the racing and how well it's implemented and how smart and dumb the AI is, because you'll have certain characters that are in a rivalry with you based on who you're using that are going to perform better against you, but they'll be worse against someone else that you're using. It's a really smart game, and it's a really simple game when you stop and just kind of look at what it does, but everything it does, it excels at. And that's kind of the ultimate mark of accomplishment, I think, with video games, is when you have a concept that is so easy to understand and so easy to just for the human mind to download and grasp, that when you excel at everything you're trying to accomplish and you just stick the landing on everything, or you flood the landing and you end up tumbling down the mountain, which is also fun, it's something that you can appreciate and something you can enjoy. SSX Tricky, SSX3, both of them are great. Tricky is just my preferred one. There you have it, my friends. 10 games that I think even people that are not racing game fans will enjoy and should play. Let me know in the comments down below, what are your favorite racing games for folks that don't like racing games, or if you just hate racing games and nothing I say will convince you to try one out, let me know why as well. If you enjoyed today's video, please give it a thumbs up. The engagement helps the channel out. If you really liked it, consider subscribing. I'd love to have you stick around. We are on the fast track to 20K. Till next time, folks, thanks for stopping by. Appreciate you spending some time with me. Remember to play more games, stay square, and take care. I'll talk to you soon.